Welcome to Off the Grid, a podcast for small business owners who want to leave social media without losing all their clients.
Let's go off the grid. Okay. Let's go off the grid. Okay. I know that you really want to put your phone away. Yeah. Let's go off the grid.
Hello and welcome to Off the Grid, a podcast about stepping back or away from social media and building your business, your creative practice, your social life, your friendship circles, your group chats, and everything else we're up to in work and life away from platforms owned by people named things like Zark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Okay, that one didn't work as well. But welcome to the show, my friends. Today, I am bringing you the first part of our two-part season 6 finale. So this season has been happening since February. Remember February? I barely do, but I have been making season 6 of the show since then. And when I thought about how I wanted to end this season, I really wanted to do two things. I could not choose between them. So in the spirit of more is more and abundance mindsets, we're doing both. This week, I am sharing with you 21 tiny pep talks from past guests of Off the Grid podcast. I just felt like we have had so many amazing people on the show, and I wanted their wisdom to return, especially at the midpoint of such a challenging year. So I reached out to all of our past guests in the spring and asked if they had time to record a quick 5-minute pep talk for Off the Grid listeners, and many of them did. So you are going to hear 21 of those pep talks today. We will have pep talks for slow sales, pep talks for figuring things out without spiraling, pep talks for collaborating, pep talks for starting projects and ending projects and choosing your business model and connecting with the land around you. There's a pep talk for getting exactly what you want, a pep talk for when everything feels overwhelming, a pep talk for your marketing strategy, and a pep talk for surviving capitalism. This episode is so full of brilliant people offering gentle, no-nonsense support, and you're not going to regret tuning in. The second part of our season finale, which you will be receiving right here on this pod feed next week, is going to be, drumroll please, a preview of my book. I have secretly been working on my book all year, and I've dropped some hints here on the pod feed. You might have heard me say things like, in my book I've been writing about, insert interesting tech topic here. Or maybe you tuned in to the 3 ways I'm gently reinventing my work right now episode, and you heard me talk about the realization that my book is a black cat, not a golden retriever. If you don't know what that means, listen to that episode. But I am finally ready to give you a little preview of the book itself. And I can do that now because I have finished the manuscript. I have held the proof of this book in my hands, and I have started working on the audiobook. So I'm going to share with you a few selections from my upcoming book, Your Attention is Sacred, Except on Social Media. And that will be the second part of our season 6 finale next week. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that episode. But before then, I have literally 21 tiny pep talks to offer you. So in this episode, we are going to hear from the following amazing people. First, Blaize Hall, who has not yet been on the podcast, but is an off-the-grid listener and contributor, is going to guide us through a pendulation somatic practice. I really wanted to offer something embodied before you listen to all the advice and support and cheering and coaching that happens in these pep talks. I thought it could be nice to really center in ourselves and connect with our knowing before we move into listening to pep talks. So we're going to start with Blaize's pendulation somatic practice. Then you will hear pep talks from the following people: Rachel Duncan of the Money Healing Club, Michelle Pellizzon-Lipsitz of Holisticism, Mattia Maurée of AuDHD Flourishing, Arielle Estoria, who I started this season with, Michelle Warner of Networking That Pays, Elise Granata of Group Hug, Yarrow Magdalena of the beautifully renamed business Glimmer Portal, Megan Leatherman of A Wild New Work, Maria Bowler, who wrote the amazing book Making Time, which I featured early in the season, as well as Natalie Miller of Mind Witchery. Grace Allerdice of Homebody Podcast is finally returning to the show. We'll also hear from Chelsie Tamms of Lettering Works, Shivani Bhatia of Intimate Practice, Amanda Laird of Slow and Steady Studio, Maggie Gentry of Rest Day Creative, Natalie Ross of Earth Speak Podcast, Nicole Cloutier of Copy Poetics, Chelsie Reif of In My Non-Expert Opinion, and Sarah Arantza Amador of Hawthorne Mountain Tarot. Now, they may not show up in exactly that order because I'll be honest with you, as I record this, I have not yet edited the pep talks together, but you will hear all of their voices and they will each introduce themselves when they begin. I am so thrilled to share these pep talks with you. If you are having a tough year in business or you just want to be pumped up on your morning walk, this episode is going to offer you probably exactly something you really need to hear right now. So thanks to all of these guests for returning to the show and offering all of us their wisdom. And thanks to you in advance for returning next week to get a sneak peek of my upcoming book in the second part of our season 6 finale. I think we're ready to begin the beginning of the end. So shall we dive on in?
Hi there, I'm Blaize Hall. I run Weeping Willow Wellness, where I offer the Whole Body Communicator program, where we transform communication with somatic practice, mindset shift, and communication strategy. Today, I wanted to gift us all with a chance to dive straight into somatic practice. So we're going to do a little resourcing and sensory pendulation. The invitation here is to slow down. Whatever you're doing, if it's safe, close your eyes. Find a position of relative stillness. First, connect to your breath. And take 3 grounding breaths with me, in through the nose and out through the nose or mouth. 2 more like that at your own pace. And your last one, you're invited to release sound. If there's a hum, a sigh, a groan, a lip trill. And from here, begin to scan your body, noticing where in your body you feel strong, actively in pleasure, good, or even neutral. If there's no access to sensations that are necessarily positive, scan your body for a space that feels neutral, neither good nor bad. Continue scanning. Maybe it's a really great day in your body and you have access to lots of different positive sensations. And maybe none right now, and we're just looking for a space that feels safe and neutral to be with. Feel into it a little more deeply. Get curious about what specificity you can explore of that sensation. What temperature is it? What texture is it? Is it intense or less intense? Is it light? Is it heavy? Is it moving around or is it still? One last breath in that sensation. And now I want you to scan your body for a more difficult sensation. Any sensation of discomfort, dis-ease, any story of pain that your body wants to tell you. And you have the ability to resource with that positive place that we named, or that neutral space, if that's what you found. Choose one specific location to sit with and be with. And then the invitation here is to pendulate your attention back and forth between the pain place and the pleasure place or neutral place. For 3 breath cycles, sit with the pain, and if it becomes too much, you can always jump back to the pleasure or neutral space more quickly. Let's breathe. Give your body the space to talk to you about your pain. And now, shift back over into your pleasure place and sit with pleasure again. Now take the support that being in pleasure provides you to go back into the pain. 2 breaths this time. And now shift your attention back into the pleasure for 2 breaths. You can always explore this practice for much longer. You can see maybe it serves you to sit for more breaths in pain and in pleasure. And eventually you can blend so that each breath, or maybe the inhale is into pain and the exhale is into pleasure, and it becomes more and more quick. And your titration between pain and pleasure blends so that you're able to build your capacity to hold the both and be supported by the both and experience in your body. Thanks for having me today.
Hello, my name is Michelle Pellizzon-Lipsitz. I run a company called Holisticism. I'm a writer, I'm a creative, I'm a mother, and I have some pep for you. I have a pep talk for you. This is what I say to myself. I remind myself often, because listen, I am full of doubt. I am so full of doubt and fear, and I am not brave. I'm not a brave person in any stretch of anyone's imagination. Like, I'm 36 and if I have to turn off the lights and be in the dark by myself, like, I don't like it. I'll turn the flashlight on my phone, or like, I'll just sleep with the lights on. This is all to say, I'm not a brave person. I'm a fearful person. And so there are a lot of things that I'm afraid of. And especially as a creative and an entrepreneur, and I don't know, a person raising another person in this time, it feels like everywhere you look, there's a scary monster. But something that I say to myself to keep me from spiraling and to honestly, like, remind myself that it's going to be okay. I say that I have a 100% track record of figuring it out. So you have a 100% track record every time you've run into a problem, an impossible problem to solve. You have figured it out. Now, sometimes you figured it out through, like brute force, right? You've just made the answer appear, or you've worked the problem and you've solved it. Other times, you've known who to call for help. Maybe you needed help with your health, and so you called on your family or your friends to support you. Maybe you needed help figuring out a problem and you went to an advisor or a mentor, or you found a coach, or you found a teacher, or you read a book, or you took a course. But regardless, you have a 100% track record of figuring out how to get out of sticky situations, figuring out how to work the problem, even if that meant closing down your business or finishing your degree early or getting out of a relationship. Even though it may have felt like failure at that point or not the outcome that you wanted, you still figured it out. And look, you're standing here today. So I remind myself of this when I'm really feeling lost. I have a 100% track record of figuring it out. I'm going to be okay. I might not know what the answer is or where ultimately I will land, but I know that eventually I will land on my feet. And I know you will too.
Hi, I'm Sarah Arantza Amador, and I'm a tarot artist and a creativity coach and a writer, and I'm the Diabruja behind Hawthorne Mountain Tarot. And this is a pep talk for moving forward, whatever that means. I just recently got back home after walking a portion of the Camino de Santiago in Spain, and I went on that very long walk, 112-mile walk, looking for clarity, looking for momentum. And I was out there looking for signs. And what I got day after day was the same quiet truth. Moving forward isn't always linear, and it isn't always fast, nor should it be. It isn't always brave or beautiful. Sometimes it's just really muddy and sweaty and achy and deeply inconvenient and difficult, humbling. Sometimes it's just really humbling. But here's the thing. Even when I was cold or tired or unsure of my next stop or where I was going to sleep that night, some part of me still moved. And even when I got on the bus instead of walking the night after I slept in a very cold and very miserable attic in a convent, and I woke up the next morning with a migraine, got on that bus because I wanted to protect my body, that was still moving forward. Even when I stopped and I cried, even when I asked for help, forward can be soft and it can be sideways and it can be stillness with the tiniest flicker of willingness returning to your chest. Sometimes it's grief that walks you forward, and sometimes it's heartbreak. Sometimes it's the slow, aching truth that the only way out is through. You just keep going through the dark wood. And one day, quietly, the trees thin and the light changes. You meet people, you leave them behind. The terrain shifts, and you realize you're making it through. So 2025 is a hermit year in tarot numerology, and hermits walk. Not fast, not flashy, but they're guided by the glow of their own lantern. I want you to think about your lantern, and I want you to think about what is lighting it from within. What's your North Star? What's the twinkling primeval knowing that still shines inside of you, even now? Your values, your longing, your refusal to abandon yourself. Recommit to those things, your convictions. Let them guide you, because you don't have to leap and you don't have to know the whole map and you don't even have to do it like anyone else. You're allowed to move forward your way. One step, one breath, one awkward, holy attempt at choosing yourself again. And if you're listening to this while staring down at a blank page or at a tangled inbox or a big-hearted dream that still scares you, this is me lighting a candle for your very next step, whatever that looks like, because you're not behind and you're not broken and the world isn't either. You're not too late. You're already on the path and you're allowed to keep going, even now, especially now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arielle Estoria. I am a poet, an author, and an actor, and this is my pep talk for unfolding. When I say unfolding, I mean maybe you find yourself in a space of shedding old skin and growing into this current or new version of yourself. And that might feel scary. It might feel unknown. It might feel uncertain and maybe sometimes even quote unquote bad. But none of that is true. It just means these are the growing pains. These are the beautiful spaces and moments in which you get to grow and unfold into your most full, beautiful, and most authentic version of yourself. Sometimes that means then that you have to repot yourself. We have to put ourselves in new soil that allows us the space to be expansive and to be full and to take up all the space that we are meant to. So if you find yourself in a space of unfolding, this is my reminder to you to keep growing, my love. Keep growing.
Hello, I'm Mattia Maurée, the host of the AuDHD Flourishing podcast. I don't think you're ever going to regret meaningful rest and recovery that really works, and healing the nervous system regulation, all of that, which is not about always feeling calm. It's about being able to return to center. And alongside that, especially if you're neurodivergent, chronically ill, have experienced complex trauma, have a very stressful life, any of those things, being able to work with the state that your brain and body is in right now, as opposed to spending a lot of energy trying to force yourself into a different state. And I'm a living example of this right now because I wrote down a 10-step checklist of all this prep I was going to do to make this beautiful pep talk, to make sure I was in the right state to mirror Amelia's beautiful pace of speaking. But I'm very neurodivergent, and there was a big crisis in my family this week. And so I did just enough to get myself here in front of the microphone so I can just authentically be myself and say, there's nothing wrong with you if you're struggling to align all the stuff on your plate with your values and your dreams and your desires. And I don't think the answer is just to buy another course or find the perfect teacher. If you know how to take care of yourself, if you know how to rest effectively, if you know how to bring your nervous system back into a relatively okay state, to me, that has been the foundation of being able to get myself to do the cool, creative things that I really want to do. We can never bully ourselves into wellness or feeling good. And if you feel better first, it's a lot easier to do anything from that state, including continuing to take care of yourself.
Hello, Off the Grid. My name is Michelle Warner. I'm a business designer and strategist who helps small business owners build sustainable businesses anchored by collaborative partnerships and strong relationships. I'm also the host of the Sequence Over Strategy podcast, and I am here with a pep talk about how to collaborate with folks. And specifically, what I want you to know is that if you are thinking about a collaboration or a partnership, know that the value that is exchanged between you and your collaboration partner doesn't have to be the exact same thing. A lot of times people come to me and they're thinking about maybe doing a joint venture webinar, or they want to go do what I call borrow an audience and go talk to somebody else's audience, but they are panicked because they don't feel like they have the same size audience to return. And my message to them is, this isn't an audience trade. It should never be about that. It should be you looking for a unique value that you can offer to a specific audience. So maybe you talk about something that that person who owns the audience doesn't know anything about, but whatever you share helps that audience do better. Here's a quick example. I talk about networking. So a lot of folks who have business building courses will bring me in because they know that their people will get better results from their business building course if their people know how to network, but they don't want to teach them how to network. So I can come in and provide that value. It doesn't matter if I have the same size audience or not. In fact, when I started doing it, I didn't even have an email list. And I was going in front of and training audiences of tens of thousands of people. So if you are thinking about collaborating, please, please, please remember that you do not have to trade equal assets, or the same asset, I should say. There are a lot of collaborative ways that you can partner with folks where you are bringing a specific value that has nothing to do with the size of audience that you may think you need to trade. That's my piece of advice for you. If you want more about building collaborations and building networking, please feel free to join me on my website at themichellewarner.com. And you can even go to themichellewarner.com/free training. And there's a whole training about how to think about intentional networking and setting up some of these win-win collaborations that are relationship building and not transactional.
Hey there, Off the Grid listeners. It's Amanda Laird from Slow and Steady in the Personal Business Podcast. And here's a little pep talk for creating a simpler, more effective marketing plan. So here's the thing that we often forget, and that's our marketing always has a job to do. We're never just marketing for the sake of marketing. Our marketing needs to be helping us attract new potential clients and leads, building awareness of our brand, connect with potential customers and clients so that they can get to know us and understand if our services, our products, our offers, whatever it is that we're selling can help solve their problems. And aligns with their values and their budgets and how they want to spend their money. And last but certainly not least, we also need to be planning for sales. Yes, babe, you gotta be salesy at some point. And that's making sure that somewhere in your marketing plan, you have planned for sales and converting your audience into actual paying customers. So here's what I want you to do. Make a list of all of the things that you're currently doing to market your business. If that's guesting on podcasts or posting on social media, writing email newsletters, optimizing your website and your blogs for search engines. Maybe you are printing postcards and dropping them in the neighborhood or putting up posters. Whatever it is that you're doing to build some awareness and market your business. Now, I want you to go through that list and write down, what is that marketing doing? Is it helping build awareness and attracting new customers? Is it a way for you to connect and demonstrate your expertise? Or is it actually selling and driving sales and conversions? Once you've gone through that list, take a look and see where the gaps are. Now you can see exactly where you need to spend your effort. So I hope that helps and good luck.
Hi, this is Chelsie Tamms from Lettering Works, sharing a little pep talk on collaborating with other creatives when times are slow. Think for a moment who your most ideal client or collaborator might be. Maybe it's someone in your network whose work you absolutely love, or more of a dream client you haven't quite gotten the attention of yet. If you are currently experiencing a slow time in business, I encourage you to take some time to recenter the fun in what you do. Build a passion project or collaboration around what excites you most and what might be able to help your business grow long-term. My top 3 tips for collaborating with fellow creatives are 1, right-size your project to ensure it stays fun and manageable. 2, outline clear expectations, everything from what each party will contribute to the goals and anticipated benefits of working together. And 3, set a timeline and treat it as you would any paid project. This can be especially helpful in getting you into a creative flow if you fall into a pattern of needing momentum to be creative. If you're looking for some inspiration on how to structure a collaboration or might be interested in collaborating with a lettering artist and designer like myself, I'd encourage you to check out my artist trade program, which you can find at letteringworks.com. Thank you.
Hey, pals. This is Elise with Group Hug. I'm coming from my daily dog paddling in the messiness of community to offer you this wish. Your work doesn't have to last forever to have been worth doing. Maybe you feel this because you're slogging on a project that you've been working on for a long time, or maybe you're actually in the opposite place. You're hesitating at the threshold and you don't want to begin at all because you're just overwhelmed at what might come next, and next after that, and next after that. But your work is not more or less worthy because of its immortality. In fact, not lasting forever offers up pretty interesting opportunities for the creative afterlife of your work. It might be something more like legacy, not infinity forever. I think it's kind of exciting to think about how this might push you to build relationships with other projects and people doing similar work. For example, maybe instead of just like erasing all the digital presence of something connected to a current project, or just communicating about the closure of something and only linking to your current work, it's actually a chance to hype up other people. It's something that you can push people in your audience who might still be interested in the original iteration of your work towards something that still meets their needs while not having to be the one that is meeting their needs. It also nudges us to archive and storytell. Now that you're not pushing the work in the same way, how might you bottle up all of those learnings, all of the lessons, the failures, the insights, the random inspiration into something that you can actually share with other people, right? Like that doesn't have to just go nowhere. Maybe there's even an exciting release here. You could make offerings free or open to donation that used to be totally paywalled. Or maybe you link up with a bunch of other people who you think would benefit from what you learned, and you literally just pass on your learnings for them to take or leave for their own practice. And I don't think this has to feel like holier than thou or like I'm teaching you something, like you have to take it. It just can be a nice practice to actually show and actually build relationships with other people that you might feel ordinarily in competition with or worried too much about having to distinguish yourselves from. Making something last forever is an inherently lonely pursuit if it is tied to something we began. It can feel like it's up to us and only us to keep pushing, even if this iteration of our work is no longer even jiving with what we really need. Opening ourselves up to ways we might integrate and compost our learnings is a perspective that ties us into a greater community of thinkers, helpers, and practitioners. I hope all of this can make you feel a little less lonely in your work. I hope it can make you feel a little bit more possibility in beginning or ending, and a little bit more nimble in all of this day-to-day practice. And ultimately, that it actually helps you build relationships with other people.
Hi there. My name is Shivani. I'm a facilitator, an equity strategist, and a conflict midwife for people at the intersections. I want to offer you some wisdom and some practices for this time of polycrises, when it feels hard to do work, create art, practice activism, and make time for play, when it maybe feels like we swing between drowning and burning. So here's my step-by-step for rooting into what's important when it all feels overwhelming. First, I want you to start with the body. What's one gentle practice you can offer towards your own somatic experience? Maybe that's a few minutes of breath work, a few sips of something hydrating, a few hours of walking in the woods. Maybe it's a soft afternoon nap, a ripe mango, a belly laugh with friends. I want to invite you to ask your body what it craves, first and foremost. Second, I want you to turn towards your practice. What is the work you feel called to make in this time? As Audre Lorde asks us, what are the words you do not have and what do you need to say? I want to invite you to explore just one thing, just one of the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own, as she writes. Can you put that into that short story you've been writing late at night when no one else is awake? Can you bring it to your quilting practice and stitch it to be held by fabric? Maybe make a photograph of the way your neighborhood has transformed, or put it into one newsletter or podcast episode you send out to your clients. Can you maybe even share it with just one friend or just one stranger? Finally, I want you to show up for your people. What is one action you can take towards revolutionary practice? Find one mutual aid fund and give $5. Tell one friend, I'm afraid of what might happen, and see what blossoms between you. Maybe join one organization that's already on the ground and doing the work. Find out which candidates are running for your local school board and spend one Saturday afternoon canvassing. Take one conflict you've been avoiding and explore what happens when you decide to show up with integrity this time. So I want you to remember, in this time of polycrisis and overlapping oppressions, first, attend to the body. Second, attend to the work. And third, attend to the people. Each step is an invitation, and you can ask for help whenever you need it. Take good care, beloveds.
Hey, Off the Grid friends. This is Maurée Bowler with the pep talk for staying close to your work, even when no one's clapping. I think we've all been through those moments where it seems like all we hear in response to putting our work out there is deafening silence. This is a relative experience, of course. One person's version of no one is noticing can be really different from another person. Maybe literally no one opened your email. Maybe 300 people did, but you're used to 1,000. Either way, that experience is real, and no one should ever minimize the courage it takes to put something from your sincerest heart, from your truest thought, out into a world that isn't necessarily trained to receive it well. So, first of all, thank you for being in that process. That is real. You don't get enough credit for that. And I also want to offer that there's something interesting that happens in this moment where it almost feels like silence between what we intended and what got back to us. It's really uncomfortable. And it's also a moment that invites us into even deeper intimacy with what we're trying to do. Maybe this is the moment where you get even closer to the edge of what it is you're really trying to say, your fullest expression at this point in time. We keep changing, we keep growing. Maybe your edge has changed. Maybe the fullest expression of your work is not what it was a year ago, and this is the time to hear what your voice wants to say now. Again, these moments are really uncomfortable, but we're trained to try to fill the silence and overcome these gaps so quickly by what people call hustle culture or productivity culture, but it doesn't have to be that way. I'm imagining showing up to a concert and you're sitting on stage in front of a mic and there's literally no one in the audience. I've definitely been through something that would feel like that before. And of course, the temptation would be pack up your guitar and go home. But what if this was the moment where you could put on the most feral, wild version of your show, whatever your show is, just to hear yourself in the space in order to explore and take that risk? That's the opportunity that's in front of us. So I offer you just a couple questions to sit with. If this was not, in fact, a moment where you needed to take it as a rejection, but as a sacred space for refinement, what's trying to get weirder, wilder, or more specific in your work? You might ask yourself, what am I bored of in my own work? And what secret impulse might be hiding inside that boredom? How would you show up really if your work was entirely for you? How can you delight yourself the most in the meantime, regardless of who responds? And I know, undoubtedly, that in the future, the people who are meant to receive your work will, in droves. No question. But in the meantime, something really interesting is going to emerge. Thanks for being in your process.
Greetings off the grid. This is Grace Allerdice, and I thought for my pep talk today, I would offer you a simple prompt to play with as you engage with your work this summer. And in order to receive the prompt, I'd like to invite you to take a deep breath. If you're sitting down in a chair, or maybe you're listening to this while you're driving, can you lean back? Notice if your head is leaning really far forward. Can you allow the back of your head to lean up against the back of the chair? Or if you're able to, you might even want to lie down on the floor and just feel the back of your body enjoying that support. Notice how different your awareness is, your nervous system responds when we lean back. And the prompt I'd like to share with you for your pep talk is, how can you lean into simplicity? What if it doesn't have to be complicated? Whatever the service is, the offer is, the email is, whatever it is that you're playing with or working on, how could it invite you back into its core simplicity? Which is really, how can you get back into that truly resonant center of what's most refined and most important about what it is that you're doing? And you'll know when you get there, because it will also be beautiful to you. If you're used to doing too much or overcomplicating things, I know I can definitely do that. It might feel like it's not enough at first, but what if we take a moment to recalibrate to, what is the simplicity of what it is I'm doing and offering? What could
come off of this? What could I release from this? What's making too much noise? What if the bells and whistles are starting to take away from it? And how can I lean back and lean into what is simple?
Hi, friend. My name's Megan Leatherman of the A Wild New Work podcast, and I want to talk a little bit about how to cultivate the stability and adaptability of the earth in our lives and the work that we do. All around you, no matter what kind of ecosystem you live in, there are beings there who are surviving and thriving and making beauty, even in the midst of climate chaos or change or habitat destruction. And one of the reasons that we are in this mess is that humans have forgotten all of the different options and strategies and approaches that are available to making life on this planet. Capitalist culture is innately confining. It reduces everything to its value to the economy, its profit margin, its capacity for efficiency. But if we turn toward the wild world, we see that there are so many other options. There are so many cycles happening at once. There are so many possibilities. There are so many different ways of getting our needs met and relating to one another and showing up in the world. And one of the best ways to reconnect to that very old primordial stability is to literally allow yourself to be held by the land and the earth, to go sit on the ground. Sometimes I'll just go out and lay on the ground and feel that holding, allow myself to relax into it. I don't have to hold it all. I don't have to figure all of this out. Maybe I dig a hole in the ground and I give the earth my grief and my disappointments of all that didn't work out or come to fruition. And I lighten my own load and give it back to the earth, who will know what to do with it. Another really wonderful way to cultivate a new sense of stability and adaptability is to allow ourselves to be taught by the land and the beings on the land. Again, there are so many more options than we're given in capitalist culture. We can be a hunter one day. We might forage one day. We might be in a symbiotic relationship. We may become a scavenger. All of the beings on this planet have different gifts and approaches that we can learn from. In my own work, I learn a lot from the vulture, who can show me how to face the very bloody history of capitalism and not turn away, but to metabolize it so that the landscape is a little bit cleaner as a result. Or I'll turn to the whales and remember that I need to go way deeper before I can come to the surface with anything to share. So these beings who know how to adapt have real meaningful lessons that they can share with us in our lives and work. And learning from them isn't about using them, but relating to them as the great teachers that they are. So I hope you will ask for a teacher, notice the teachers that are appearing around you, and take heed of their advice and their strategies and how they're adapting in these times. So that's a little bit about cultivating some new stability and adaptability, and I hope it's a blessing to you. Take such good care, and I'll see you on the other side.
Hey there, this is Maggie Gentry, thought partner and co-founder of Rest Day Creative. You are not a contradiction for wanting to build a business and dismantle capitalism at the same time. You're living in late-stage capitalism, which means survival requires earning money. And if you're a care-centered human, then you've probably bumped up against the pressure to either do it all the right way or not do it at all. But here's what we want you to know. Participation is not the same thing as allegiance. You can work within this system while working to unravel its harm. You can charge for your labor while believing labor shouldn't be exploited. You can need income and still center care. There is no perfect way to do business right now, but there are more human ways. And building from that place matters. Business isn't the enemy, extraction is. And you're trying to build something else. Something rooted in mutuality, in rhythm, and enoughness. And yes, maybe you're still working on pricing, still figuring out your systems, still dancing with perfectionism or scarcity or shame. And that's not failure. That's just being a person inside a system that wants you to forget that you are one. So here's your reminder. Your business doesn't have to be sleek or scale ready. It just has to be honest. You don't need a funnel. You need a foundation, one that holds you too. And you're allowed to change over and over again. So if you're building a business where you treat people like they matter, including yourself, then let's be clear. You are doing it. You're interrupting the norm. You're part of the shift. And that is beautifully enough. On the days it feels too heavy or too complicated, find ways to make it 5% easier. Drink water, step away from the computer, offer yourself unrelenting permission, ask for help, let something take longer, tend to your nervous system like it's part of your business plan. Because it is. You're not here to build a business that depletes you. You're here to build something that helps you live. That's not contradiction. That's clarity. And it is care made visible.
You don't have to have your business or life figured out by now or ever. Hello, I'm Natalie Ross from Natalie.net and the Earth Speak podcast. The system's idea of having it figured out is to be in a state of constant growth. And that growth depends on exploitation of ourselves, others, and the earth, domination and power over those deemed less than, an accumulation of material wealth that knows no bounds. The system is set up to keep us always striving for growth and accumulation and never arriving at enough, where we can rest, connect, and truly enjoy life. But the system's ideas that try to live through us don't have to rule our lives. Are you willing to consider this? What if you're misidentifying the internalized voice of the system as your own identity? There's no shame in mistaking the system's voice as your own mind. It happens to and within all of us. It's inescapable. But the system's ideas that try to live through us don't have to rule our lives. And we don't have to comply. The first step is being aware that the voice of the system can cosplay as your own. Then, when you notice self-shaming thoughts popping up, you can try asking them, whose voice is this anyways? Bit by bit, this creates more clarity around what impulses, desires, and pressures are your own and what aren't, and which ones matter versus which don't. And bit by bit, this shows your nervous system that it's safe to create distance between your identity and the voice of the system. This process doesn't happen overnight, and it's not without turbulence, as the system has rooted so deeply into our thoughts and feelings that our bodies believe that if we don't comply, we're in danger. It's because of this feeling that it's dangerous to ignore the system's pressures that distancing your sense of self from the system's voice can be quite intimidating. Take being on social media, for example. People who come to me often want to figure out how to be better at marketing on Instagram because they believe that it's the key to their success. Yet they feel distressed about it. I ask where their customers are actually coming from, and most often, it's not Instagram. One client realized her customers came from her farmer's market stand, and that sending one email a week to her list brought more people out than any amount of Instagram posts ever did. She was able to drop that inner pressure to post to Instagram and instead focus on where meaningful connections were actually happening, all while making posting to social media optional. So remember this, the system's ideas that try to live through us don't have to rule our lives. Thank you.
Hello, lovely Off the Grid listener. My name is Natalie Miller. I am a coach for entrepreneurs who are evolving into a next phase of business or relationship or even just the way that they are in the world. And one of my favorite questions to ask my clients is, what would happen if they were gifted a golden goose? You know, a golden goose, a goose that lays golden eggs. And almost always they say that the first thing they would do is try to learn everything they could about how to care for it. What does this goose want to eat? How does it want its habitat? What will help the goose be as healthy and as happy as possible? And here's the thing. You are the golden goose, my friend. You are the golden goose. Your creative mind, your generous heart, your intuitive connection, all of that is the most valuable asset you have. And no doubt you've already discovered how your creativity, your generosity of spirit, your connection intuitively can yield abundance for you, riches for you. And so if that is the case, that you are the golden goose, how could you treat yourself as if that were true? What is it that you need to be happier, to be healthier? What is it that is piquing your curiosity? What is it that your body is longing for? And could it be, maybe, that the reason something's stalled, the reason an offer isn't working the way it used to, or the work isn't feeling as great as it used to, is that your golden goose has been pushed past her limits. That's my invitation to you. Treat yourself like the golden goose that you are, no matter what that means, and then watch and see what happens next. If this speaks to you and you'd like to hear more from me, you can find my podcast called Mind Witchery everywhere that podcasts are.
Hi, Off the Grid listeners. This is Rachel Duncan, financial therapist from the Money Healing Club. If you're feeling the pinch right now, if your sales have slowed, if you're wondering whether people have stopped believing in what you're offering, I want us to take a breath. Yes, it could be we're in a recession. Recessions are a natural phenomena in the economy, where a large group of people lose trust in the economy. They don't lose trust in you specifically or your products or services, but in the whole economic system. They lose trust in the immediate future. So when people aren't buying from you right now, please don't take it personally. They're not rejecting you, even though it can feel that way. It doesn't mean your business is a failure. Your customers are protecting themselves because they don't trust the world right now. So what can you do during these slow periods? I want you to focus on trust. How do you build trust? Show yourself trust by sharing your process, your weird dreams, your pet photos, your doodles, your quirky, authentic self without any expectation of reply or remuneration. Ask your audience genuine questions and receive their weird replies. Show them they can trust themselves by lifting up their work and their stories. Show them they can trust in you by being a steady, warm, real presence during this economic storm. Create trust through genuine relationships. Of course, don't forget to promote your work. That's not what I mean. But make space for trust building in between the launches. Understand that lots of people might be holding back right now, but that doesn't mean nobody's going to buy. Show them you understand that. And there's something crucial. If your business is not financially supporting you right now because of the economy, you have permission to slow down. It's okay to return to an older trade or take a job that's not your life's purpose. For me, I've got a few plan Bs, like garage organizing, bookkeeping, picking up retail shifts. If things get really tough, I can lean back on those skills. It's okay. You're not failing if you have to gear down or take an off-ramp. You're being clever and making it through. And here's the thing about recessions. They're kind of like forest fires. Yes, they are totally destructive in the moment, absolutely, and cause more harm disproportionately to people with marginalized identities. Recessions can also clear the space for new growth and innovation on the other side. Think fertile ground. Economists call this creative destruction, the economy's messy way of making room for what comes next. So pay attention to those intuitive hits and little niggles. This isn't the first recession. It won't be the last. So to wrap up this pep talk from a financial therapist, trust yourself to navigate this. Nurture your community. Remember, you are whole. So let's link arms and make a life raft together by being real and trustworthy. I trust you.
Hi, I'm Nicole Cloutier, and I am a copywriter and messaging strategist for founders who care about words as much as they care about results, though we definitely do care about results around here too. So here's my pep talk for you. If you are staring down a blinking cursor right now, trying to figure out how to write your sales page or any sales copy for that matter, here is your reminder. It can be a poetic, creative, artistic process if you let it. So here are 3 ways to bring your creativity back into marketing and get that sales copy written. So number 1, start by meditating on your ideal client, or better yet, free write as them. Here are some prompts to help you through that. What are they actually struggling with right now? What keeps them stuck? What might their life look like if they never find you and your solution? And, more importantly, what could shift if they do find you? When you write from this place, you stop trying to sound like you're selling because you stop trying to prove yourself. You are not asking for a favor, you are offering something of incredible value. And when you believe that, it completely changes how you are able to write your sales copy. Tip number 2 is to think of your sales page like a poetic form or a story arc. So you're not just dumping features in a bulleted list with emojis or trying to convert. You are walking someone through a transformation. You are taking them from the tension that they're holding right now to the possibility that is waiting for them on the other side of your offer. That narrative arc is the strategy. But it's also your creative constraint. Like when you're trying to write a sonnet or a haiku, that container creates so much room for creativity because you have to figure out how to make it work within a certain shape. So having a good template for your sales page or your sales emails can help you become more creative. And the tip number 3 is to write a really bland, really boring, really messy first draft. I mean this with the deepest level of sincerity. I want you to write your first draft like no one will ever read it. You're breaking the blank page. This part is very important, so listen up. Do not let AI take the messy first draft from you. That is yours. AI is a wonderful tool, especially for solopreneurs and founders who are running a business almost entirely on their own. And I will never tell you not to use it. But the messy first draft is where all that unique, creative, weird, and unrepeatable energy comes from. If you let AI take the first draft, then it is just going to borrow from everywhere else on the internet or steal from everywhere else on the internet, and it won't be yours. So you can bring AI in to help you shape it and edit it at the end. But I really, really encourage you to write your own first draft because the magic is not in getting it perfect right away. It's in getting it out of your magnificent brain. So if you are stuck on any sales copy, here is your permission slip to make a mess, to get personal, to start with story, to let it be artistic and creative, and remember that the right people want to be moved by your sales copy. So let your words lead them. You don't have to write it perfectly. You just have to begin. So if you want more support with that beginning, I have a free resource for you called the Sales Page Spellbook. Many of you who listen to Off the Grid have already grabbed it, but if you haven't, I encourage you to do so. It is packed with prompts, structure ideas, and copy cues to help you write a sales page that feels really good in your gut and is also set up to convert. So you can grab that at copypoetics.com/OTG. And hey, you have got this, truly.
Hi everyone, my name is Yarrow of Pinkwell Studio. I'm a web designer, tech consultant, and a small business mentor. My pep talk today is about finding the right business model and really giving yourself a lot of spaciousness and grace in the process. It's something that over the years I've become really nerdy about because I think our business model is often a source of joy and creativity or of difficulty and stress. I've experimented with all kinds of ideas and formats and offerings over the years. I had a successful business community, for example, for 4 years. I had a Patreon. I've been growing the size of projects that I've been booking, and I've been continuously asking myself, really, what do I want my week to look like? What's giving me joy? What feels draining right now? And how can I move towards increasing levels of abundance, and not just in money, but also really in energy and hope and vision and fun in how I spend my time. When I work with people, I really notice that kind people want to make really sure that their business is inclusive, that it's accessible to everyone. And I really do think that's very important, and it should be really central to how we do things and how we structure our businesses. But we can't forget ourselves. We have to make sure that we're including ourselves and our own needs as well. I'm saying that as someone who lives with disabilities and needs spaciousness for my health sometimes. And so I'm inviting you to really look at it from both sides. What do you want to offer? How do you want to include people, but also what is beautiful and sustainable for you? I'll give you an example. I've been offering mentoring in different ways. I've initially had kind of more long-term packages where we met weekly, and I also have been offering all kinds of group courses, for example. And I really loved all of these experiences. But at the moment, what I'm really loving is Voxer mentoring, where I have fortnightly sessions with people, and then in between they get to ask me questions on Voxer. That's a really good rhythm for me. It feels gentle on my body. Both of us have time and space in between sessions. But also if my clients get stuck, they can message me anytime. And I love going to a place in nature every week from which I then answer those questions from a space in nature, but also in myself, a place that I feel really rested and grounded in. And that makes that model for me so joyous. So this is permission for you to get creative as well, to listen to your body, and to think bigger when it comes to dreaming something up that's very unique to you and your business.
Hey, Off the Grid listeners, how's it going? I'm Chelsie, and I am a podcast strategist and the host of the Top 1% podcast in my non-expert opinion. My pep talk today is about shooting your damn shot. So picture this. It's 2019 and I am sitting on my computer. My cursor is blinking back in that email draft like it's mocking me. And I'm about to send the most terrifying email of my life to Lauren Bosstick from The Skinny Confidential. This is the same Lauren Bosstick who is married to Michael Bosstick, who is the co-founder of Dear Media, one of the largest podcast networks in the US. My palms are sweating, my heart is racing, and I'm just thinking, who the hell am I? She had 1 million followers on Instagram at the time, and I had like 500, with the most random ugly feed you've ever seen. Zero aesthetic, but I hit send anyway. And guess what? She said yes. I had evidence that I could shoot my shot and doors open that I didn't even know existed. From there, I started to mix a little bit of delusion with evidence from this experience and confidence to start pitching anybody that I thought was interesting. This included mega influencers, authors, huge industry names, Yeah, my roster started growing and it was full of dream guests. Without that initial email that I sent to Lauren, I'm not even sure I'd be sitting here today recording this for you. I wanted to share that story because I can probably guess what's going on in your head right now. You've been scrolling on Instagram, you see someone's perfect life. They're traveling around the world, they're working 5 hours per week, they have a massive following, their success just seems to compound every single day, and you feel like you're shrinking. You've started to convince yourself that somehow the bigger the following, the more important they are. And now, with this imaginary math equation that you've made up, you've taken yourself off the court before the game even started. I get it. I've been there. That voice in your head saying, they're too important, they'll never respond. What if they think I'm desperate or annoying? You start typing a message and then delete it. You draft emails that you never send. You talk yourself out of opportunities before you even try. But here's what I realized. That person that you're intimidated by, they are literally just a human being like you and I. They get anxious about sending emails too. They worry about being judged. They struggle with their content. The only difference is they decided to put themselves out there anyway. So here's how to flip the script with baby steps. You're going to pick one person today. That podcast host whose podcast you've binged, like the latest season of White Lotus, or that brand whose every post you like within 30 seconds, that mentor whose content you screenshot and save like a part-time job. Choose just one. And here's your pep talk. You are not too small to shoot your shot. Your follower count does not determine your worth. Your bank account doesn't dictate your value, and your current success level doesn't determine what you deserve access to. You have something they need, a fresh perspective, genuine engagement, and a story they haven't heard. So instead of focusing on how big they are, focus on what you bring to the table. You have an advantage because you consume their content religiously, which means you understand their audience better than most people that pitch them. You have insights they need and experiences they can learn from. My advice is to write something real. Share from the heart, something that shows that you've been paying attention. Share how their content impacted you, or ask a thoughtful question that shows what you're actually thinking. Worst case scenario, they don't respond, and you're right back where you're at now. NBD. Best case, everything changes. But either way, you'll stop feeling small because you'll have done the thing that scared you. You're someone who shoots their damn shot. You don't need permission to take up space. Become your own permission slip. And you don't need to feel 100% confident before you hit send. A big life does not happen by accident. It happens through small, deliberate action. That moment is right now. Now go shoot your damn shot.
Okay, friends, thank you so much for listening to this very special episode. I am so grateful to Blaize, Michelle, Sarah, Arielle, Mattia, Michelle, Amanda, Chelsie, Elise, Shivani, Maria, Grace, Maggie, Megan, Natalie, Rachel, Nicole, Natalie, Yarrow, and Chelsie for sharing those pep talks with us. That was a mouthful, wasn't it? Reading 20 names in a row with multiple Michelles and multiple Natalies. But as I finished this episode, I noticed there were only 20 pep talks from past guests. So I thought to make it an even 21, I would add a tiny pep talk of my own. And that pep talk is to remember that you do not have to carry the whole weight of your business alone. And in fact, you cannot carry it alone. If you were doing it alone, there would not be clients, customers, collaborators, or community around you. And those are the things that make a business run. Otherwise, you just have kind of like a cute little art practice you do in your house. And that's great, but it's not a business. So if you have a business, that means you have support. And the more you can nurture that support by giving to it and receiving from it, the more you can nurture those relationships and those people. Remember, when I say support or relationships, or when we talk about open rates or click-throughs, those are all people. And the better care you take of your people, the better care they can, and in my experience, will take of you. So this is a tiny pep talk for asking for what you need and offering what you have and letting that guide you toward the next season of your business, whether that be just moving into deep summer because that's where we're headed in the Northern Hemisphere, or it be a totally new iteration of your work that you have been bringing through this year. Let your people carry you through. And remember that your business is nothing without you and it's nothing without them. So that is my tiny pep talk for you today. And of course, I am, a business woman myself. And I feel compelled to say that if you feel like you don't have enough peers, collaborators, and community support that gets it in your business, I have 2 places that you can join us. The first is in the Off the Grid Clubhouse, which is actually going to have a whole month of free content in August. So I am removing the paywall and sharing new episodes weekly in August. So head to the Clubhouse if you would like to get in on that fun. And if Substack or comments aren't really your game for making friends, I don't make the best friends there, I will be honest, even though I love hosting those spaces. But if you like to hop on a Zoom call or in a soon-to-be existing Slack workspace with the people that you want to co-work with, connect with, collaborate with every day, I also want to invite you to join the interweb. It's linked in the show notes. Doors are currently closed, but I invite people in off the waitlist every 4 to 6 weeks. So learn about the interweb, join the waitlist if that sounds right to you, and you'll probably get an invite from me soon to come meet our community of almost 200 creative small business owners who are figuring things out together. So that was my pep talk and my plug for the great things we have going on at Off the Grid. And next week, I will be back with a preview of my oft whispered, rarely promoted book that will be coming out this fall. You're going to hear it here first or second because they heard it in the Clubhouse first. So you're going to hear it here second, my friends, a preview of my audiobook right here on your podcast feed. I cannot wait to be back with you for that next week as we wrap up season 6 of Off the Grid. Thanks for listening to Off the Grid. Don't forget to grab your free Leaving Social Media toolkit at offthegrid.fun/toolkit. This podcast is a Softer Sounds production. Our music is by Melissa Caitlin Carter of Making Audio Magic, and our logo is by Natalie Studio. I'm your host, Amelia Ruby, and until next time, I'll see you off the grid and on the interweb.
Let's go off the grid. Okay. Let's go off